Hi guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today we're making a zucchini summer tart, and it's really simple. At this time of year we have lots and lots of tomatoes and basil and mint and all these things in our garden, and I love to make new recipes with them, ways to use them up and not waste them. So we grow these beautiful, different varieties of tomatoes, but San Marzano and cherry tomatoes are two of the varieties. We also have zucchini. This is like a zucchini squash. So we grow this, and then we have lots of mint, basil. So you can pretty much use anything that you have in your garden. We're going to use some sliced bell peppers, a little bit of black pepper, shredded Parmesan cheese, ricotta. You can get the ricotta recipe, my homemade ricotta recipe, on my channel and also on my blog, www.dimitrasdishes.com. We need some sliced, chopped up mint, fresh mint, some feta cheese. Ladani is my favorite. You should know that by now, and I highly recommend that you use Ladani feta. It's a sheep's milk feta. Some fresh mint that I just showed you, some dried oregano, salt, olive oil. Did I mention zucchini? I think I did. And of course, a sheet of thawed out puff pastry. Okay, so first we're going to put our we're going to get our cheese ingredients together. So I'm just really simple. I'm just going to mix up the mint with the ricotta cheese. And the mint really lightens this recipe up and makes all the difference. But if you don't have mint, or if you're not a big fan of mint, feel free to use basil. Fresh basil also goes really nice in this recipe. Put a little bit of black pepper in here. And then we're going to crumble some feta cheese. That's going to add a salty, nice bite to it. If you've ever had tiropita, which is cheese pie, this is a similar flavor combination. Clean my hands. We're just going to mix this all up. And since the feta has a lot of salt in it, I didn't add any salt. I'm going to taste it and see if it needs salt. Also gives me a reason to taste this yummy, delicious, creamy mixture. Just needs a tiny bit of salt. Just a little bit. Okay, my ricotta cheese mixture is ready. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to season and put a little bit of olive oil on our tomatoes and on our zucchini, just so that way everything is flavored and everything is nicely seasoned. Just some olive oil, a little bit of salt, a little bit of dried oregano. We're just going to mix this all up until it's all combined. And you can feel free to use your clean hands to do this. Just like that. We're going to do the same thing with our tomatoes, because you want every single thing that's going into your tart to be properly seasoned and properly flavored. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, and a tiny bit of oregano. We're going to do the same thing. Move it all around. The only thing we're not going to do this to is the bell pepper, because the bell pepper adds a really nice fresh taste, and it really doesn't need any seasoning. It just needs to stay just the way it is. All right, so I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on my board, and I'm going to take my puff pastry. It's nicely thawed, sticking to the parchment. And I'm just going to cut it in half. And the best way to cut it in half is to fold it over. That way you don't have to take out rulers or anything like that. And then open it up again and just slice it down the middle. Now, you don't have to do this. I love the way the long rectangular sort of tart-shaped pastry, how it looks. You can just use the whole puff pastry sheet as it is, just roll it out a little bit, but you're going to see how this looks really pretty. And if you've ever seen those beautiful little French tart pans, they're long and rectangular, and they're so pretty. So it's all about the presentation. So we're going to roll this out just a little bit, about 16 inches long, which is pretty much as long as your half sheet pan. And then just going to roll it out a little bit wider. Not too much. We don't want to thin out the puff pastry so much that it won't have any like layers to it. Looks like this side needs a little more rolling. That's it. Okay, so before we start layering all the toppings on, we're going to put it on our baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper, because otherwise you won't be able to lift it out, right? And that's fine if it comes up a little bit. What we're going to do now is score all around with a knife, almost 3/4 of the way through. We're not going to go down to the bottom and like cut the puff pastry all the way down because we don't want it to be separated. We're just basically creating a border so that way the edges can puff up and make like a crust. So about 1/2 inch away from the edge, you want to go down with your knife. Again, careful not to go all the way through because you don't want it to be separated. You just want a nice, beautiful crust. Go all the way down, all around, like that. And then you just want the sides to puff. You don't want the inside of it to puff where the filling is going to be. So we're going to prick it all around with the tip of the fork. And now we're going to put the cheese filling on the bottom. So again, you don't have to cut it in half and make two, but honestly, they look so pretty. And especially if you're making this for a bigger crowd and you want to set it out on the buffet table, it looks really pretty when you have two on there. And then they slice beautifully. It's easier to slice a small tart than it is to slice a big tart. But if you're in a hurry and you don't want to make two, you just want to make one, that's fine. But once you see what it looks like, I think you'll choose this option. So we're just kind of going to layer this on. I don't know about you, but more is better when it comes to cheese, for me at least. But you can, make as thin as a layer, as thick of a layer as you like. Now we're going to put our slices of bell pepper over the cheese. That's my oven. It's preheating to 400 degrees. All right, so once you're done laying out your bell peppers, we're going to put some grated, shredded, whatever you want to call it, Parmesan cheese on here. And in Greece, we would traditionally use kefalograviera, and that's delicious. I just wish I could get my hands on it. It's kind of hard to find here in Houston. So I'm just going to use Parmesan cheese, which works just as good. Then I'm going to take my zucchini slices and arrange them in a nice, pretty pattern. And you can use any vegetable you have growing. Eggplant works really nice in this dish. You could add some olives to it. That's really nice. Whatever you have growing is going to be beautiful in this tart. Your summer vegetables will just be perfect in here. Okay, now we're going to put our tomatoes in just to fill in the gaps. Okay, so I don't see any egg wash over here. I forgot to mention that you are going to need some egg wash, which is basically some egg yolks mixed in with water or milk. And I'm going to get that ready, brush my tart, and then show you what it looks like. All right, so I have my egg wash here, which is I just cracked 2 eggs and I separated the egg yolks from the whites. And I'm just using 2 egg yolks mixed with some water. You can use water or milk, anything you have and anything you prefer. And this is just going to give that beautiful golden brown color to the crust. So my oven is preheated to 400 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing with my other piece over there. I'm going to cook them for about 20 minutes or until it's nice and golden and puffy and beautiful. And I'm going to show you what they look like as soon as they come out the oven. All right, so my zucchini summer tart has come out of the oven. You see how the corners, how the edges all around have puffed up. And you see how the tomatoes have gotten a little tiny bit of a char in them. They've gotten a little wrinkled. The zucchini is perfectly cooked. It's so beautiful. It's a perfect side or lunch, or great for like a brunch menu to serve this at. Go on the website www.dimitrasdishes.com. Get this recipe with exact measurements and everything. I think I forgot to mention that the zucchini slices are cut about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. You don't have to be perfect. Make them as chunky or as thin as you like them. It's really completely up to you. But go on the website, get the recipe, make this. It's too hot for me to dig into, so I'm going to have to wait 15 minutes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.